feel if your child never grew up, if they never seemed to learn anything or think for themselves? Even worse, imagine that you did everything you're supposed to do as a parent. You raised them the same way your parents raised you. You took them to school and, and you trusted them to make the right decisions. And yet here they are, newly graduate and a complete bum who still doesn't seem to know anything. There are many teenagers like this all over America, and the truth is, it's not always the parents' fault or the schools. One thing that a lot of students seem to have a problem with is a lack of motivation. And every student goes through a time before graduation where they don't even care about learning. But one way to motivate these students to pay more attention during class and learn would be to pass a basic skills test that each student has to take in order to graduate. Having a test that would potentially cause them not to graduate would encourage students to learn everything that they need to learn and pay attention during class in order to pass. I'm trying to get people to agree that states should require students to pass a basic skills test in order to graduate, because the state's decisions are based off the people, and the more people agree with this, the more likely they're going to make it a requirement. 26 states either currently have a high school exit exam or are planning to put one in place. These tests vary between states, but they all have the same purpose, to make sure that students are learning. Since the passage of the No Child Left Behind legislature in 2001, all states have been required to administer a standardized test annually to ensure that students are learning the essential materials. These tests could also help teachers to ensure that their students are learning everything that they're teaching, and to help them to know if they're doing a good job as a teacher and teaching these students everything they need to learn. They could also help. Teachers can't always be sure that students are learning during class, and because they could always just be copying off of other students or cheating on tests. But these exit exams could help teachers realize exactly which students are struggling and which areas they're struggling in, so that they could spend more time on it during class or stress it more. Eventually, these students are going to have to leave, and it's good for us to know exactly what they're capable of so that we can put our trust in them. Most students plan on going to college after they graduate, and if they don't, then they plan on going straight into the work life. But for both situations, students will need to be able to analyze conflicting explanations, support arguments, solve complex problems, conduct research, and so on. They also need attributes such as good study skills, time management, and awareness of one's performance and persistence. Exit exams could help develop some, if not all, of these skills, because they would have to use them during the test or when they're trying to prepare for it. Even though exit exams can't take all the credit for promoting students to learn these skills, they do provide a very good motivation for them to learn as much as possible. Students without basic skills have no place in the adult world or outside of high school. If there is no common sense in our future generations, how can we expect them to make important and possibly lethal or life-changing decisions? So, in a way, students kind of need these tests to make sure that they're learning everything that they need to learn, and they're going to get somewhere after high school. Maybe not all of them, but the ones with an I don't care attitude do, just to keep them on track. One of the hardest things that teachers have to deal with is students not paying attention during class and having no desire to learn. Of course, some students are really good about staying on track and taking advanced classes to make sure that they're learning and to kind of help them get ahead in life. However, there are also some students who base their schedules around classes that require little to no effort. And in the end, they don't really learn very much. There are also students who skip school often because they don't feel like it's very important to go. and even the students who do come may not always be paying attention. These students often graduate without learning anything, and they're totally unprepared for life outside of high school. Many students believe that high school is like a big waste of time and like it's stupid and the reason they think this is because they don't come to high school because they want to, but because they have to. And because students don't come to high school by choice, they often reject it, or they resent it. And this can make it very hard for teachers to kind of motivate them to learn. However, having a test would decrease the amount of students who go through high school with this sort of attitude. And the fact that they would have to stay a whole nother year if they didn't pass would encourage them to do better, because nobody wants to stay in high school longer than they have to. Since exit exams were put in place in California, grades have risen from 2.98 to 3.31 for their GPA, as in this model here. 4 would be the all-time high, and a 0 would mean like nothing, a 0. Also, as of 2015, 92% of students who took the exit exams passed. So these tests help students by making sure they learn, prepare them for life outside of high school, and keeping them on track. By supporting this, you could help your students to realize the importance of learning. And there's no point in students going to high school or going throughout all of high school and not learning anything. In fact, it would be a waste of time, money, and resources. And not only this, but it would leave students totally clueless, and it would give them a harder time outside of high school than it would if they had already learned everything. So not only would not having these tests not only would not learning be pointless, but it could be harmful. And it's our job to make sure that students are learning and that they're prepared for life outside of high school. And exit exams are one of the best ways to make sure that they get an education.